Welcome to this travel vlog where I will take you from Sydney to Wollongong, Kiama, Jervis Bay, Kangaroo Valley, Fitzroy Falls, the Blue Mountains, before coming full circle back to Sydney. For this, you'll need to rent a car. My rental was made online for $26 a day with an additional $8 a day to reduce my access. And I felt Sydney is a slightly more exciting city than other cities in Australia, so I felt the additional insurance would be worth the while. And for that, I managed to get myself a Nissan Juke, which is an SUV without being overly large, and it's got sufficient power to go through the elevated and descending terrain of Sydney and New South Wales, and it's got excellent mileage. You can get to Wollongong from Sydney for just about 19 minutes, and there are quite a few scenic lookouts along the way, so do keep your eye out for signages. Be prepared to improvise a little bit. My experience isn't going to be exactly the same as yours. Australia is huge, and sometimes the weather isn't exactly what you hope for it to be. But sunny weather isn't going to be the most beautiful environments to take a picture. When it rains heavily, the waterfalls are also extra strong. Some of the roads might get bogged up, which is a disadvantage of course, and you'll have to take a detour. Stormy weather can actually be quite beautiful, and rain clouds make for more emotive images and videos. Wollongong is the most vibrant stop in my coastal drive, and that makes sense because it's pretty close to Sydney. I recommend that you set waypoints if you wish to drive through certain scenic routes. Google sometimes takes you on boring routes just to save 1 or 2 minutes of driving. On the coast of Wollongong, you'll find 2 lighthouses, which is pretty unique. Most coastlines like this or coastal towns will come with 1 lighthouse, but it's quite distinct visually to see these 2 lighthouses so close to each other. The fish and chips down at the beach near the Novotel Hotel is exceptionally good. Usually I don't finish the chips, but this time I did. After spending a night at Wollongong and having a look at some of the sights that are in this town, it was off to Kiama next to see the Kiama Blowhole and also the Kiama Cathedral rocks. The Cathedral rocks are quite a sight to behold. They're pretty unique to this area, and they remind me of Superman's home or something out of the Lord of the Rings. The Kiama Blowhole probably looks most magnificent at high tide, but I was there at low tide, so the blowhole wasn't blowing up the water terribly high. However, the structures surrounding the Kiama Blowhole are amazing to look at. Continuing on to Jervis Bay and spending the night there, waking up in the morning, I didn't take the ferry to go out to look for dolphins or whales. First of all, it wasn't a season for whales, and although dolphins are a year-round thing, I just didn't feel like it at that time. That said, boats leave at 10:30 in the morning or 1:30 in the afternoon just after lunch. I stayed inland and went to Budiri National Park and stumbled across wild wallabies and kangaroos. Budiri National Park isn't free. There are QR codes at car parks when you stop there and pay a $13 entrance and parking fee, which will give you 4 hours of use at the park. This probably helps to prevent vagrants from just living in the park, and it is a practice that you see in national parks in other countries too. Make sure you pay this fee because the penalty is well over $200. By this time, you can choose to go further down south towards Gippsland. I have already been to Gippsland through Melbourne, so I started to make my way back up north towards Cambewarra. There's a restaurant up at Cambewarra Lookout, and the view is stunning, overlooking Back Forest and Jervis Bay, Kangaroo Valley. I might not have done this town justice, but there are some quaint shops located at this valley. Was there more that I should have seen? Please let me know. There's an old bank building which is now a cafe, and it looks something right out of a western. There's also a wood shop and an antique store where I got me a handful of records, some from Neil Diamond, Gordon Lightfoot, Bee Gees and Jerry Lewis. The star of the show on this inland drive has to be Fitzroy Falls. Definitely one of the highest waterfalls I've ever seen up close and personal. Spanning 660 meters according to Google and smashing down onto rough rocks, I'm thinking no one could possibly survive falling off this edge of the world. Depending on the time when you're done with Fitzroy Falls, you have the option of staying in Mossville or Bowral. but I went all the way to Katoomba, which took 2.5 hours from Fitzroy Falls. Katoomba is the most vibrant town in the Blue Mountains in my opinion, and I recommend that you stay here for the night so you can get to the Three Sisters bright and early the next morning. If you're lucky, like I was, you can catch a spectacular view of the Blue Mountains with an ocean of clouds because of the cold morning air and, of course, depending on the weather as well. If you spend the night here at the Blue Mountains, don't forget to look up at the night sky. I took this picture with very little preparation, but I think it turned out alright and accurate to what I saw up in the skies. There are several other lookout points. You just have to try your luck and trust that the rangers have carved out achievable paths and steps to get you safely to the best lookout points. One of these has to be Sublime Lookout Point. With limited time left for this trip before heading back to Sydney, I had to stop by at one more waterfall and I chose Wentworth Falls. There are several approaches to view this waterfall. Which one you choose will depend on your fitness level. If you're with older family members, I recommend the Princess Rock Lookout. And that just about does it. I hope you enjoyed this video and it's given you some ideas on how to explore New South Wales if you're coming in by vehicle yourself. I recommend you use the Force Luke, use Google Maps, mark out some interesting places that you want to visit, but be prepared to improvise as you go and see what draws you in. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.